Welcome to the Meeple Surf Show, where designers discuss design, and we're on episode 57. And thank you, Sen. This episode is called Jays Win. That's right. For anyone who doesn't know, I am obsessed with the Toronto Blue Jays, and they have won their Game 5 do-or-die game. So that is why I'm geared up, and I race to Mox Boarding House Game Cafe in Seattle. So I'm coming from Seattle. Sen is still coming to us live from London, Ontario. And why don't you tell us about our guests that we have with us?
On. Hey, there we go. Hey, tonight we have with us not only the Kickstarter magnate Travis R. Chance from Action Phase Game. We have Katie Cow from the Chicago area to talk about her game design. We have Suzanne Sheldon in the Hizzy, which the Hizzy is referring to actually Mox Boarding Hizzy. So she's there alongside Daryl. You can't tell; they're sort of in the same location, but they're like next to each other. Like, look, see, if we pan left and right, we can see them wave. Oh, there! No, Suze on her iPad, so she's able to aim that thing around. And then there are going to be random people dropping in to the Mox Boarding area. For those of you who don't know, who haven't been to Seattle, if you're a gamer and you like games and you like eating food and playing games at the same time and meeting people and taking maybe a sip of a alcoholic beverage or a non-alcoholic beverage if you're driving, Mox Boarding House is the spot to go to, and that's why we're representing from there. So I can hear lots of feedback. Somebody's got feedback happening, but that's okay, because we'll figure it out as we go along. Yeah, hey Daryl, I think it's you. Katie, what's going on?
Hey, right now actually I'm working on Wind Up Warfare. I don't know if any of you have seen like the small stuff around, and we recently went to the Stonemaier Games Design Day with that a couple weeks ago.
Excellent. Yeah, Daryl's definitely seen that, and I've seen it. Wind Up Warfare was a game that Katie and Jess, her partner Jess Chu, submitted to the DFW Nerd Night Design Challenge way back when, and I adored it and think that with some tweaking it could be a really good game, and that's what they've been doing. So tell us about what was happening at Design Day at Jamie Stegmeier's Design Day.
It was really cool. So it's kind of like basically a big playtesting, like a mini Unpub, but like in one day, jam-packed in one day. So a lot of kind of like cool designers come and test each other's games. So it's interesting that it's mostly designers.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't there. I wasn't there at all, and you said all the cool designers were there. I'm a cool designer, aren't I?
Minus you, Sen.
Okay. Maybe someday for you, Sen.
Yeah, maybe someday. And Mr. Chance, what's going on in your neck of the woods, other than the fact that I can't see your mouth?
No, I'm sick. I don't want to get anyone. I'm contagious, so I'm putting my mouth down.
We appreciate that.
Yes.
Fact. We launched a new game yesterday at 9 a.m. An annual Solstice game called Kodama: The Tree Spirits, and we funded in about 6.5 hours, and it's really doing very well. And I'm pleasantly surprised. We're $28,501, 957 backers. I think it's pretty neat that we launched on the same day as Scythe, or Scythe, however you want to pronounce it. And, I would have thought they would just be gobbling up everything in the galaxy, but we still have managed to do pretty well. I mean, our games are admittedly different, so I think that's probably part of it.
A whole bunch of Stegmaier mentions in the first 5 minutes of the show. That's okay. Jamie's cool. That's awesome, Travis. The original game that Kodama is based on, I enjoyed, and so I've heard from people who played the new version that it isn't like it's evolutionary, the next step. So it's quite a kudos to you guys as a development team to take a game that was already neat and make it just that much better and make it something that people who already have the original game still want, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the story is really interesting. I've never really heard anything like it. I'm sure you maybe someone else has, but we approached Daniel while we were at Origins. I had gotten a hold of him right before Origins. And, we're interested in looking at Kigi and Koi Pond. And he said, I got this other game, Trickster. So anyway, we played Kigi and Koi Pond, and what's funny is we actually liked Koi Pond better as a game, but it had some development issues that we didn't know how to fix, and we thought, well, this is going to take a lot longer, and we like Kigi, and we know that Kigi can be marketable because of the weird non-orthogonal card placement, and it's pretty. So we kind of stuck with Kigi, and then it was a really interesting situation, whereas in development where it's like we would turn one knob this way, and then another knob would turn equidistant the opposite way. So it was really hard for us to figure out how to get this really sort of this balance in the game. And we're trial and error and working with Daniel, who is amazing. I don't know if you guys know him personally or have worked with him on anything or heard or listened to him talk about design or anything, but he is just great, really great, awesome guy. So a new game. We just got to the point where like so much is different. You're making another tree game. So we ended up making Kodama. He suggested the theme, and I loved it instantly. And we've continued to work on it and do some pretty. The project has just been really unique
Cool.
across the board.
No, excellent. Daryl, what's on your mind, buddy?
Well, I mean, probably the most pressing thing is recovering and all the games from Essen.
That's right.
I managed to pack 199 games and bring back.
Are you kidding me?
No, 199.
Is that like a record?
I don't know, but it was a lot.
We should keep track. That's kind of a lot of games.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot. Although I may have got myself in a little bit of trouble because to make that happen, I ended up cutting the boxes down in size, and I guess that was a no-no with some of the copies I got from some people. So, we have a couple more guests in the room. We have Cassidy and Paul.
Hey.
Here at Mox, because that's just normal here. That just all the cool kids are here and playtesting. Yeah.
The operational manager.
Yeah. So
this is every other Wednesday. Actually.
This just happens, and we're just excited to be here for.
This is actually our playtesting night.
This is the official playtesting. Why don't I just put Paul on? Here we go.
Yeah, Paul, you come on.
Oh.
Hey, Paul, what's going on?
We're talking. Oh, I guess I can't hear the other guests.
Yeah. What's going on, sir? Hey, Paul, what's going on?
It's been a while.
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
We love having you on, so it's all good. Yeah. I don't know if you know Travis Chance from Action Point, Katie Cow.
Hello.
This is Paul. It's not Daryl, it's Paul Peterson. And he's the guy behind like Smash Up and stuff like that. Just small little
whatever. Yeah, things like that.
Things like that. And then Cassidy, I think, is on his right. Is that
Yes.
Cass? Hey, Cass. She's not listening.
She is. She's got an earpiece in now. Here. Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm moving the camera. There we go.
Hey, there we go. Yay! Oh, Action Phase. Sorry, Travis. I get that all wrong all the time because of Action Points. My bad. So, Paul, what's going on other than playtesting? What are you guys doing at Mox tonight?
That's what we're doing at Mox tonight. We're playtesting our games. We like all kinds of designers. Seattle's a hub for game design. So every other week, a whole bunch of us. Like right now, out there is Mike Elliott and myself and Cassidy from Calliope, and normally, like James Ernest was here earlier, and we're playing lots of games, having a good time.
That's excellent. Hey, Kat.
We're all playing. It's all playtest games too. So we just bring whatever we grab out of our closet or whatever we're working on right now, and bring it here, and it's good to get that kind of feedback from people, like, hey James, what do you think of this? Or hey Paul, here's the new Dr. Lucky board. That kind of thing happens all the time.
Right. And what are you working on right now, Paul?
What I'm working on right now, what I brought tonight is a new unannounced game, but like I've been doing Running of the Bulls for Calliope here in general, and I don't actually. I should do more testing of my Smash Up expansions here, but I haven't been doing that a lot lately. Yeah, so yeah, whatever I got in the hopper, that's what I'm bringing.
Okay, and Running of the Bulls, is that going to be your Titan game for Calliope?
Yes, that is my Titan
Okay,
game.
excellent. Last time we spoke, you had no name for it, so this is good to know. Running of the Bulls.
Oh, yeah, whoa, I should be careful, because that might not be the official title.
Maybe not Running of the Bulls is the title.
That's right, that's the working title.
Working title. Code name, Running of the Bulls.
Code name, Running of the Bulls.
Yeah. And Cassidy, how's everything else going with the Titan line right now?
Good. We are incredibly busy.
Yeah.
I'm getting feedback in my ear, so it's going to take me a minute to get used to that. Sorry. We just finished up backer feedback for polls. Paul turned in the final rules, so now I need to go through and correct all his misspellings.
Yeah, no, I'm not an editor.
We also are getting in some of the final art for that right now, so we're excited.
I really like the art. It's amazing.
Yes. My bunny is on there, so I'm pleased with it. I don't really care what else is on it.
Excellent. Yes?
Daryl wanted me to make sure that you saw this.
Gobblestones. That's our friend's game. That's Stephen Glenn's game. That's awesome. I'm happy to see that. By R&R. Wonderful stuff. Hey, Katie.
Yep.
Did you actually back that or purchase that laser we were talking about?
Yes, I did, actually.
Use the laser.
You're a nut bar. That's awesome. So tell us about what that is, why you think as a board game designer you need a laser, or a shark with a laser, or anything like that, and let us know what you're going to be able to create with it. Now, just so you all know, Katie by trade is an industrial designer, so she's a little bit smarter than me when it comes to lasers and designing things with lasers. So let's let one of the experts talk about that.
So the laser we're talking about is the Glowforge laser.
Where's that out of?
Seattle, actually. They're doing
everything points to Seattle.
Yeah. And so it's made by the guy who made Robot Turtles, for reference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's made to be an in-home kind of like just like a printer, but it has lasers instead of printing ink. And I bought it because I think it's really, really neat, and I've always wanted a laser cutter. And for the price point, it worked out. It was cheaper than a lot of the 3D printers I was looking at, because I also like 3D printing. But what's different about it than most laser cutters, besides the fact that it markets itself as a 3D laser printer, which it's not, it's a laser cutter. But it has a couple features that some lasers don't have, which it has like a camera where the laser is at. So you can actually draw things and then have it etch right onto the drawing, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
And also, you don't need an external exhaust system, because most laser cutters, you need something to pull the air out outside and have a fan running all the time. But this one has its own air filter, so I think that's pretty cool.
Really?
And yeah, if you go with the Pro version, which I didn't because that was a little bit more expensive, you can actually feed in material into the laser cutter, so it could technically have unlimited length of things that it could cut.
Wow.
Yeah. And,
so what do you hope to do with that from a designer's standpoint?
I think
designers, not industrial game.
I think making tiles and chits are really neat, because that's what I like to do the most. Because I look at a lot of like print-on-demand type stuff for like bits, and the quality sometimes is like iffy, and it's always pretty thin. But if you buy your own chipboard, you can get it pretty thick. For prototypes, it looks really, really nice. San, you saw my prototype for Heifer Heist.
And it's beautiful. It's lovely, yeah.
Yeah, and that was laser cut, for example.
Right. Okay. So now you're hoping to be able to do that on your own in your house. Now, it's not necessarily industrial level where you could manufacture your game yourself,
Yeah,
but
that would.
it's
Yeah.
but it's good enough for making a really nice prototype.
Mhm.
Okay, excellent. Travis, we have some questions for you from our audience members out there in YouTube land. They're asking, do you have any insight onto why the game Kodama has such great traction initially, like immediate traction? Is it because of the designer, or is it because it's a good game? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great game. I mean, people like Kigi, and I think Kigi is a neat little game. I think Kigi obviously uh, we wouldn't ended up with Kodama if we wanted Kigi. So I feel that we improved upon Kigi. In terms of why I think it's doing well, I do think that Daniel is a rather prolific guy. He's out there in the public and whatnot, and making sure that people know who he is. So he's the workhorse, and he's making sure that people are aware of the project. It's a combination of things. I think we have an audience. Um, this is our fifth game, so we've definitely built an audience over the last 2 years. So it's kind of I think it's a combination of all those things.
Right. And how is Ninja Camp coming along in development or in the printing process and all? What stage are you at with that?
We're just waiting for a production sample to hit print, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah, and just for the benefit of Katie and myself, why all the Asian themes?
As
I was just wondering.
As a Korean man, I feel that. No, it's funny because we didn't even really think about that until someone brought it up. They're like, "Oh God, you're doing another Asian game," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it."
I think you're just doing a game that happens to have an Asian theme.
He's blind to that. He's totally blind to that. They're just games to him.
Yeah, which is good, right? Which is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like I don't really see it as it's a good game. Like it's a good game that deserves to be made, and it just happens to be another Japanese cultural kind of riff.
Yeah, and I mean originally it was a Japanese cultural riff anyway, and you added tree spirits, which are Japanese cultural riffs in that particular vein of it. So I think it's cool. That's great. Paul, tell us about how working in Seattle as kind of it's almost a mecca for gamers and game design and things like that. What is it like being kind of in the center of it all in terms of you're in a hot spot?
Well, like I was saying before about one of the advantages is that my gaming group is full of designers that people know. So when we look at something, when we look at a prototype, we get really good feedback really fast. We can make really good changes and then come back in 2 weeks and get really good feedback on the next thing. So I think like any game that any of us do has the best chance just because of the resources we have available to us. Plus, there's a lot of game companies here too. So like Calliope, for example. So it's really nice that I'm working on this Titan game and that I see Ray very frequently. It's not like I'm working with Asmodee and I have to have conference calls at 9 in the morning because that's when they're awake in France and things like that. So there's a lot that happens when we're all together.
Right. And what other things about Seattle itself make it great for game designers? Is there extra infrastructure other than just designers being there and publishers being there? Is there anything else that's really quintessential about Seattle that makes it the hot spot that it is?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of things. Like part of it is that that many of us have come through these game design companies that were here. Wizards of the Coast, WizKids, Calliope, FASA essentially. Like Jordan's here, and Smith and Tinker, and those all of these companies we came from them. We started in them, and learned because they're here. And then when we were done, we stayed here because it's got a very close group. there's also the fact that there's a lot of computer games being done here too. I mean,
Right.
obviously Microsoft and Nintendo and things like that, but it's also like I work at PopCap as my day job, and it's here. There was a Zynga company here, Game House, Big Fish, like big names for being game designers. I know a lot of game designers who came to it from the computer industry. They started off as game designers in the computer industry and make board games in addition. And so, I mean, all of that works together to make it just a great place to be making games and to be experiencing games.
Right. So.
It rains all the time, so we need board games.
That's right, and it rains all the time, so we have nothing else to do.
Indoor. It's kind of like Canadians in cold and Wisconsin being cold, right?
Yeah.
A couple other hot spots or cold spots, as it were.
Cold spot, yeah.
And in terms of Seattle, is it a case of if you are a game designer, a young game designer who is mobile, would you recommend moving to Seattle?
That is a really good question. It would have a lot to do. I mean, yes, if you could do that. I definitely know people who've done exactly that. Moved up here. Game designers who've moved up here to be sort of more in the thick of it. But it also sort of depends on whether you're being a game designer is your primary income. So you could move up here, and if all you're doing is board games and you make a living at that, then you're much more mobile and able to do that. That would be fun. But then again, if your day job and you're making games on the side, then you've got to be wherever your day job is, obviously wherever the money is. But if your day job is also a game designer, then this is also a great place to be. So.
Right. So, Katie, let's talk about the Midwest because I'm Canadian, as you guys know, and so knowing where everything is in America and where it's laid out is not a strong suit. I probably know more than you guys know about Canada, but still, what about where you are is good for game design? What do you think?
Actually, in the Champaign area, there's a lot of maker spaces, which is why I like laser cutting so much.
Yes.
So a lot of like DIY culture, where people just want to create things, and like that creativity helps out with game design.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. I was just gonna say like everyone wants to help stuff. So.
Right. Do you find that there's a growth in game design culture in your area?
I think so.
And tell us about what you do specifically that helps foster that in terms of the competition and whatnot.
So I help out with a game design competition in Champaign called Kudo Plays. And so what we do is we kind of take people through a whole process of designing a game. So it's a 6-month competition, and we run kind of workshops, playtest events, and kind of different, as well as like talks from game designers. We also are near a company called Volition, which is a big video game company, and they're really into board games as well, so they help us out with a lot of stuff.
Travis, and you are in Indiana. You're in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, yeah.
Yeah, and that, of course, is famous for Gen Con. Is there any other things that geographically or locale-wise make that a hotspot for gaming or game design? Actually, is the better question.
To my knowledge, this is like one of the top 5 gamer cities in America. Like Seattle being one, Houston being one, Dallas obviously being pretty good. Like we have something like 15 game stores here that are thriving, like not limping along, and that doesn't count like things like comic book stores that have
But also sell games, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous how many game stores are here. I mean, the only thing there really is to do here is die of obesity and make babies. So
when not dying of obesities and when not making babies, you play games.
Yeah, so that's it. It's the preferred
activity of choice.
The preferred path. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I did want to talk to you about is your 2016 lineup. So you announced, I think the other day, that you guys at Action Phase have hammered out your whole lineup for 2016. Without spoiling anything, without revealing anything you don't need to or don't want to, how does this happen? What is this process? And does this mean that you're not taking a look at anything for 2016? What does this mean to designers that are pitching to you?
I mean, what it means is like we've grown enough in the last year that we are capable of putting out more than a game a year, a couple games a year. So just this year, we Kodama is our fourth game, and because Nick and I are both full time, obviously, we got bills to pay, and there's operational costs and things like that. So for us to not just be plateaued, where we're just sort of putting a game out that's paying for itself and kind of the doors barely open, the logical step for us is to move forward and take on more games. Nick and I, while we are both designers, it's the cliche that when you're the owner of a small business, you're the CEO and the janitor. So like we're busy doing all these other sort of menial tasks, answering emails. I go to the post office multiple times a week and things like that. Nick does all of our production stuff and shipping stuff. So we just delivered a Heroes Wanted expansion in August rather. Things are out in retail, so we're busy. We got 2 other games being produced right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was our graphic designer guy lives out in San Francisco. I knew him from New York. He worked on my very first game called Infamy through Mercury Games. And so he flew out, and we basically showed him all the prototypes. And we've been in this sort of like interesting funk ever since Origins, where we've just had all these prototypes. And it's just kind of like, what the hell is going on? And there was nothing that we could just put on. Everything needed work, everything needed some development. A lot of them were from first-time designers. For example, one of the games that we're going to be making is Kevin's games, and the guy you introduced us to.
Right. Kevin Riley.
And Kevin's game is now a co-op game. So it started off as one thing, it ended up as another, and it's the core conceits are still there, but things change, right, over the process. So the process itself, we sat our graphic designer down. We said, here's the games that we like. There's a couple that we are for sure want to do. We have a couple of our own games. We have a Heroes Wanted expansion, and then we have this, of course, the ever popular Investigator that I've been working on for a while.
Oh yes.
So we showed him everything. We said, what do you like? What do you not like? Because Scott's our next hire. Whenever we get to that point that we can take on another employee, our graphic designer will be the next guy.
Right.
And he's a game designer as well. He's awesome. He's just amazing. So we let him have a little bit of say in the process, how we could do things timetable wise, how we're going to set everything up, and that's kind of like the bold strokes of it. So we want to do 3 games in the beginning of the year. We don't want to run anything during con season, and anyone that's kind of been paying attention to us, that we've been kind of running around trying to get stuff done pretty close to the wire on some of these projects, like Scoundrel Society, for instance, was pretty put together pretty quickly. So we're trying to give ourselves longer timeline, the ability to hype games, to get them out during con season and play them with people. We have a little bit more of an audience now. So things like Scythe, to go back to kind of where we started off in this conversation, Jamie does a really good job of letting people see his games for a really long time, which helps build an audience and build interest and let people get sort of comfortable and familiar with the project as it evolves. And I think that's a really great strategy. So, I started off in this industry, and my belief was it's much easier to make a splash than it is to maintain or ripple it. And I think that my opinion has actually changed over the last year with regard to that philosophy.
Cool.
Question,
that was good. Cassidy. So you need to unmute, and we're going to switch to... There you go. Hey.
Daryl's microphone.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. Cassidy, speaking of companies making a splash with Kickstarter or making, continuing a ripple with Kickstarter or whatever, um, why did Calliope go to Kickstarter for the Titan series? I don't know what's going on in Ray's head.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not sure if
I'm gonna
anybody
bow
does.
out for a minute and get back to
Sure.
my playtesting and see if I can maybe recruit some other designers to come in.
Sure, thanks, Paul. That'd be great.
Sure.
I'm going to move over here if it's okay. So I can hear. Thank you. Hello?
Hello. So I was
Hello.
just wondering if you could speak to why a company that is ostensibly as popular as Calliope is with games like Suro and whatnot, why did you have to go to Kickstarter for a project like the Titans?
For a couple of reasons. One, Calliope is very small. We're actually only 3 full-time employees right now.
That's one more
Um,
than Action Phase.
Yes. And we didn't quite have the funding necessary to take on a project that large on our own, so we did need the funding. Another reason is that Kickstarter is a really great community for supporting projects like that. And we thought it would be a great thing to see what happened when we got that community together, along with really experienced designers and a small but experienced publisher. So it's just a really different way. Also, my boss is crazy.
Well, yes. I mean, we know Ray, and we know he's
Yes.
kind of nutty. He's awesome nutty. He's great. He's like a fudge nut bar. He's very fun. Um, and were you guys at Spiel in Essen this year?
No.
Okay. Do you guys ever go across to the big ones in Europe?
Yeah, Ray goes out to Nuremberg. Sometimes he goes out to Essen. It just depends on what sort of talks we have going on. Oh, hi, Daryl. He's back. So if we have someone that picked up Suro in a different language, for example,
Right.
we'll go out there to finalize the deal and talk to them. So next year, probably, we'll have some things in the works that will
Right.
make us go out there.
Yeah, because you should have a bunch of the Titan stuff out that you might want to get out to the other side, I think.
At least 3 of them.
Yeah. Oh, hey, something happened to Katie, but we'll find her later. Daryl, are you on the iPad?
He's here. He's pressing buttons.
All
I
right.
believe in you, Daryl.
Hey, can you hear
Hey,
me?
buddy. Do you want to take people on a little walk around of Mox? And Beth Sobel, who is an awesome artist, by the way, if anybody out there in publisher land is looking for an artist, Beth Sobel, great artist. Can you take us on a little walking tour of Mox there, Daryl, and tell us
Yeah,
all
let me
about
try.
what's there?
All right, let me try.
Go
Yeah.
see my husband. He's pretty.
He's out there somewhere.
The coolest part is this door.
Really? That's the coolest part? Oh, yeah, it
Because
is
it
pretty
looks
cool.
like
A shelf.
Have you been to the apothecary?
in the
You
wall.
going there now?
Right. So you most legitimately do not know that's a room.
They're asking you if you've been to the apothecary yet, Daryl.
Yeah, I will go to the apothecary.
Is that Mike Elliott that I saw?
That was my.
Yeah, he's out there.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike Elliott.
Hello. Let me take you through here. Is it over here? All right. So we got the game store.
Yep.
Here.
Oh, and I think Daryl's Wi-Fi might have just dropped. So we're gonna switch over to Mike Elliott. Hey, Mike, how are you doing,
Say
sir?
hi.
Hi, I'm doing very good.
Good. Hi, it's Sen over here in Meeple Syrup Land up in Canada. You know your hat, America's hat. And we've never met, but I've played plenty of your games, and just wanted to welcome you to the show. So thanks very much for stopping by.
Oh,
What
you're
are
welcome.
you What are you doing tonight?
I'm here we have like a Seattle game night, so we come every other Wednesday and play each other's prototypes and tell each other how horrible they are, and how you should go work in some of the field.
Right. For people who don't know Mike,
Self-affirming.
for people who don't know Mike, tell us about some of the games that you are responsible for.
So I started out working on Magic for about 10 years. I worked on about 30 expansions, did about 1,000 cards, lots of mechanics. Probably most popular is Slivers. After I left Wizards, I did a lot of freelance stuff. I've done a lot of trading card games. Then I started doing core hobby games. I've done Thunderstone. Star Trek Fleet Captains, Couriers, Dice Masters. Coming up next year, I've got a couple party games, and I'm very excited. I've got coming out with Space Cowboys early next year.
Oh, neat. That's kind of a scoop.
They soft announced it at Essen, but it doesn't
Okay.
have an actual real name yet. So.
Okay. And can you give us any inside information on what the game is, even just about, or mechanically what it's about?
Which one?
The one with Space Cowboys.
Oh, it's along the lines of some of their other games. I can't really go into.
Okay, that's totally cool.
Until they make a public announcement.
Totally fine. So your big thing, really, from the games that I've played of yours, is definitely focused on good card play, solid card play. What is the key? What is the essence of designing a good card, in your opinion?
I mean, for trading card games, the focus is just that everyone's always engaged. So if it's a two-player game, you want both players to be actively watching and not have it be like one person's playing a solitaire turn and then the other person's playing solitaire. Same thing on multiplayer card games. You just want everyone always involved. So everyone's always constantly watching what the active player is doing. And I think that's the key to really good card games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like you see a lot of cooperative games for that reason, because in cooperative games it's like everyone feels like, okay, we're always involved.
Right.
And you never want like people to feel like they're out of the game. So one of my kind of shticks is I always make kind of not always completely obvious catch-up features, but if you look at the game close enough, you can see, oh, there's the catch-up feature in this one.
Right. And is that something that you believe is a necessary thing in most games, is to have a catch-up mechanic?
If it's a really fast game, you don't necessarily need one, but if the game is longer than 10 or 15 minutes, then you should have some sort of way that people don't feel like, oh, I missed my one drop at turn one, so I'm just completely out of this game.
Right.
Because it's what I call like just a spiral death. Like you see that a lot in kind of tactical miniatures games where we start out, there's a big fight, I lose my big mini, and then it's like, in the next 15 minutes is mop up. Well,
right.
You go around the board and kill all my small guys.
Yeah, which is not fun for the person getting killed, right?
Right. It's not really fun for either player, so I try and avoid that.
It's fun to watch.
I guess it can be fun if you're the guy playing around stomping all the little guys that are left on the board. But,
so, about trading card games, we have a question here from Sir Bob. He's asking, is there a value system for the power of the cards that you design, and how do you track that? So I think essentially he's asking about card balance, power curves, things like that. Do you use a lot of spreadsheets, or?
So most resource systems are kind of designed to stop people from putting super expensive cards out early, just because you don't want, like, you want to kind of have a range of, here's the early cards, here's the medium cards, and here's the cards that are going to finish the game off. So most resource systems are designed to basically prevent people from playing the super powerful broken cards early on.
Right.
And make it very easy to play the really cheap cards. And that's where most mana systems. I've done, I think, 17 trading card games now. So I do a lot of mana resource systems. I've done some where the cards double as cards you play or face-down cards, which was done for one of my games, Duel Masters.
Right.
And I've done other ones where I took the mana away from the cards, and each turn you get a crystal, which is kind of the system that Hearthstone uses.
Right.
I used for a game called Battle Spirits back in 2008.
So way before there was Hearthstone, there was Mike Elliott's game.
Yeah, I don't like. I may have borrowed elements of that from other games.
He may have borrowed elements.
So there's not a lot that's original.
That's totally true. In terms of a system like, have you played Epic yet? Darwin and Rob's game Epic?
I played a very old iteration. Daryl played it with me at Gamma
Yeah.
a while back.
And in a system like that, where the curves are way,
yes, it's super compressed. Every
Yeah.
card costs 1, and you can't carry over mana. So it's like either play it or lose it. Is pretty much you can make systems like that. It's just much harder,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets much swingier. Like in that game, I think you can put out like an 18/18 trampler or something ridiculous at turn 1.
Yes, my son does that all the time. Just by luck of the draw, he always gets that card. Hey,
In fact, I think at the game we played the one of the swinging cards came out early, but we had an answer to it, so it was.
and it is kind of epic when you do find an answer to that 1818 trampler right away, or what is it called in that? It's like rampaging, I think. Is the new trample. Rampage is the new trample.
Yeah.
Daryl, what's going on with you? I just see you're back online.
Yeah, no, I'm actually in the same room.
Oh, okay, that's why there's the echo. You just face it. It's facing the other way. Yeah.
I'm curious though. Travis, I know is a big Magic player. I'm curious, what would you ask your Mike from your experience playing Magic?
Good question. So Travis, Daryl's asking you. I don't know if you can hear him very well. He's asking you what you would ask Mike Elliott. Travis. About Magic cards and things like that, card design.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know specifically what I would ask him.
But you're gonna. What if you did know?
I guess I would ask this: What do you think about the? Do you stay current with the game? Like, do you pay attention to what's going on in Magic these days? Like how creatures are. Creatures are king, and crazy powerful spells like Wrath of God and whatnot are diminishing.
Yeah, so I designed basically from 1995 to about 2005. I was lead on like Stronghold, Exodus, Urza's Saga, Urza's Legacy, Onslaught Legions, a lot of the earlier sets. There's kind of this thing people always tell you, like, oh, if you do your hobby for your job, then you'll always be happy and you'll never be bored. But what actually happens in the real world is after like doing it for 8 or 10 years, it starts to kind of get a little old, and you now have a new hobby of doing something else that's more fun than your actual job. So after 10 years, I was a little burned out on Magic. When I left, I probably didn't play Magic for at least 3 or 4 years after I left the company. But I have a younger son who's just turned 12, and he's been into Magic since he was 9. So I've been kind of forced to, they pulled me back.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. I sold all my cards years and years ago, I think just after the Dark or something, and my sons are 8 and 12 now, and they wanted Magic, so I couldn't say no. And yeah, I'm back in. Not totally. I mean, and that's actually why I got Epic, was to do cube drafting without having to buy a lot of cards. So that was
cube
my.
drafting is pretty fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen some
I love limited format. It's just open format where it's like a. Hey, we have a question here. So, and this is specifically for you, Mike. If somebody is trying to design a game where they have a mana system, but the mana doesn't get replenished, are there any things that he should look out for trap-wise, in terms of that he's not maybe thinking about that you might have already seen in a system or designed already, where mana doesn't get replenished?
So you just
How
have
does he stop that?
So that would be like a game where you have like 30 mana to start out with, and you could spend it over the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Typically on those, you would have some limit on the amount that you could spend per turn. So like maybe like the first couple turns I can spend 2, then I can spend 3, then I can spend 4. And you would kind of pace it so that by the end of the game you had used all your mana up, but you didn't have a ton left over. Those types of systems are viable, but they tend to be very compressed in terms of what your options are, because you don't want to let people spend all 30 the first turn, because then all the subsequent turns. It's like, okay, I spent all my mana, and now I can do a couple things on board, but other than that, I'm done.
Yeah.
So the hard part is keeping the strategic decisions as the game progresses, which often requires you to just do some sort of limiting thing. I mean, a real simple version would be just you have 20 mana, there's 5 turns, you can spend 4 a turn. And then it almost compresses to being kind of like an action point system, where your mana is basically just your actions for the turn.
Right.
So when, a lot of games with action point systems are similar to games with restricted mana systems.
Okay, good. So, Sir Bob, there's the answer for you right there, straight from the horse's mouth. Not that I'm, comparing you to a horse, Mike, but
usually
that's what playtesting night is for.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying
I compared myself to a dog earlier.
There you go. Good. Good to know. Good to know. Daryl, do you have any other questions for our fine friends? Daryl, you're mute.
I was trying to mute them so that I don't go through.
Oh, you're so smart.
I can mute.
Awesome. How's that sound?
That sounds really good.
Oh, yeah. We're learning the technicals. We've never had multiple people in the same room off location. So, actually, I would love to throw another question back at Travis. I know Travis has been at a variety of shows, but I'm curious, from your experience over the year, especially trade shows and gamer shows, what have you found has been really useful as a publisher to be at, especially for finding designs and meeting designers? You mentioned already earlier in the show that at Origins was where you connected with Daniel Solis. Could you kind of share for any of our viewers that are designers trying to connect with publishers what has been a good time for you as a publisher?
Well, I mean, one time my dad asked me, because my dad has had like the same job his whole life. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go a little undead Viking here for a minute.
Are you going on a Lance?
Love it. Nice Lance, man.
So I basically got paid to kind of do what I liked in my 20s, and I would deliver pizza whenever my money would run out. And my dad said to me one time, he was like, how do you, I was in a band and I toured all over everywhere. I went everywhere. And, I got to play music and that was my job. My dad's like, well, how do you do this? And I'm like, somebody says, do you want to do something? And I just say, yeah. Like, a door opens and I just walk through it. It's really that simple, And I think that applies to this. It's like, do you want to see my game? Sure. Like, have you ever made a game before? No. All right, sure. I'll give you my time. I think the fact that we're newer to the industry, we're a little bit more, Sin, you even said this. We looked at 3 games from you and Jay. We rejected all of them, but we gave you an hour of our time to talk about them,
Yeah, because they're awesome. Not the games, you guys. The games are fun.
No,
you guys are awesome.
Not that there was. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said rejected. We were not interested in 3 of your games because they weren't right for us. They were cool games.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't even really dawn on us that most people would just say, sorry, we're not interested, and that would be the end of the conversation. But we're actually interested in talking about design and hearing people's thoughts and things like that. So I think a lot of it is we've been open. We've been open to meeting people. We've been open to looking at their games. We've been open to being on panels. We've just kind of allowed opportunities to be there and to take them. And I think in taking those opportunities, you meet people, and from meeting people, this is a very insular industry. You meet people, and you introduced us to a guy that, first-time designer. We're now making his game. I mean, it really is people connecting.
Actually, a couple of them, eh?
I'm making a game with another guy that too. Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm going to be on the Action Phase payroll someday.
Wow, you actually pronounced our company name correctly.
For once, I know, right? So the more I do it, the more you're going to say, we should hire that guy. Yeah, so I think you do a really bang-up job of that. There's another question that you answered online about the value of going to conventions and doing playtests there and showing your wares at conventions. Do you mind just reiterating what you said online to the audience that's viewing?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm sorry, about what?
About being at conventions and playtesting and showing your games at conventions. What's the value of going to a convention for the publisher?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that it's early exposure, right? So you have the opportunity. So I think that there is like a sort of a fork in the road with consumers. There are the people that I call protophobic. As soon as they see a game that doesn't have a barcode on it, they're like, "Get it away from me! What? This isn't real. It's not a real game." It's like, no, no, no. We've made 5 games. This is a real game. I don't care. It's not in a real box. And then, so you have those people, and then you have other people who are open to playing anything. I mean, all I do is play prototypes. We were actually talking the other day. We've never even actually played a finished version of one of our own games. All we do is play friggin' prototypes. So I think that you sit there and there's some people that are interested because they want to kind of get to peek behind the curtain. So you sit down, you show them the game, and it helps to, once again, it's like you get to have a conversation. You get to say, what do you think? What did you like? What did you not like? And so it's exposure for the game. It helps cultivate relationships with fans or attendees, and from there, like we the guy that works as our editor and our proofer, he demoed the Heroes Wanted expansion at BGG last year, when we were kind of showing it around, and now that guy works for us. So
Does he pronounce your company name correctly?
no, he doesn't. I was just thinking about how we should just hire you under the wrong company name and then just checks that can't clear and just get you to do a bunch of work for us.
You could do that. I'd totally be down for that. Swinging back to Mr. Elliott. Mike, you're going to have to unmute Daryl. Or Daryl, you're going to have to unmute the computer. There we go. Yay, you're good. Cassidy, you're awesome. We're actually running low on time, and it's amazing because I didn't think we'd actually get through this one because Daryl was running from Bellingham down to Mox. But I just wanted to ask you, if there is one piece of advice that you would give to new game designers who are trying to get into the biz, trying to get their game on shelves or self-published or whatever, what is that one quintessential piece of advice that you wish you had when you were starting out?
Probably just keep testing your games and don't listen to your really close friends on whether they like it or don't like it. Like, watch people's reactions rather than listen to what they say.
That's great.
Probably my best advice is, because people lie all the time and will tell you nice things, but you can get the reaction, like if they want to keep playing, and especially like if they want to play again without prompting, that's the positive signs you're looking for.
Right. Daryl, do you want to wrap it up with Travis and then do the wrap up?
Absolutely. Well, if Travis, you've been on the show before, so you probably answered this question of tips for new designers. So instead, I think I'll reword this as a publisher, because we do have a lot of people that are just getting into Kickstarter or getting into self-publishing. What tips would you give for someone who's never Kickstarted before, but they're gonna start their first Kickstarter campaign? What advice would you give them?
Okay, so I have a couple points on that, and if you're wondering why the show is running over, that's going to happen anytime you have me on.
Which we happily invite you over and over again. So clearly we're okay with it.
Lance is going to ground me for being here instead of on the Alaboom tonight. So number one, if at any point in time you have said these words out loud, I don't care if I ever make a penny doing this, don't make your own game. Let someone else make your game, because that, as soon as your project is successful, that means that you have stopped becoming a game designer and you are a publisher. You are an entrepreneur, and that means you are responsible for the money that you have taken to transmute that into a product. So I know a lot of people that are knock-up awesome game designers, but they've tried to do Kickstarter, and some of them have learned, oh, this is not for me. But being a publisher and being a designer are two totally different things. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to know how the sausage is made, then sure, do a Kickstarter. I do personally have a giant qualm with people who treat Kickstarter like it's a hobby, or like it's like skydiving or something. It's like, yeah, I made a game one time and we made $100,000. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I just kind of drove the plane into the ground. So I would say, if you don't have business savvy, don't do your own Kickstarter. Put it in the capable hands of a publisher that can help see your game through as a product, and you sit back and just put money in your pocket if it does well. So that would be my advice. If you are going to do a Kickstarter, do your research. If you think you're ready to put your game up, wait 6 months and then put it up. Don't, because you're probably not ready. Like most people think they are. I think, like what Mike said, it's the same thing. You really need to get outside opinions on things, or you need to do your research. You can't, if your girlfriend or your grandma or someone is telling you to do it because they think it's the coolest game they've ever played, that doesn't really mean much in the world of making an actual product.
Absolutely. Great advice there. Thank you, Travis. I guess on that note, Sen, are we calling it a night? Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you for Travis for sneaking over here. We do want to also promote the Alaboom show. Please, anyone who's checking this out, you'd have a great time watching Alaboom. So check that out. Travis is there, Lance, and a variety of great personalities that love to talk. It's a little bit of a longer show. I warn people now. But it is a great show. And
not by much. It's not longer by much. Maybe 5, 6, 7 times the length of your show.
Maybe something like that. So I did last time I saw Lance, we were chatting about trying to maybe line up our shows so that we're not overlapping. So we're still trying to figure that out. So but meanwhile, stay tuned for more info on how we'll make that work. I also want to thank Mike and Cassidy. Also, I want to thank who's not here, but Paul and Suze for being on the show, and Katie, who we lost somehow, but we're very thankful that she came on to the show so last minute. And a special thanks to Mox for letting us use the Speakeasy room. Very beautiful, I gotta say. I've never seen a game cafe that is so beautiful. And I've been to, I think this is my 15th game cafe, so that says something. It's an incredible space. If you're in the Seattle area, definitely come out to Mox Boarding House. Check it out. Eat some delicious food, have some great drinks, and play lots of good games. So with that said, I'm going to now go enjoy some games. So everyone, have a good night. Keep making great games. Look forward to trying your games soon. Bye.